get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. What a beautiful sunset we have back there in the forest now. And no, assholes, it's not a green screen. This is real. Welcome to the sunset, the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Who's going to whoop University of Richmond's ass tomorrow in the opening home game here in Charlottesville. Yeah, I got an email that's going to piss a lot of people off. Whatever. Man, speaking of pissing people off, what about Erie? No, I got to tell you something she did. You think I'm a man brat. Wait till I tell you what she did. Oh, but it's hilarious. So anyway, listen, it's September now. Fall is in the air. I mean, football starts tomorrow. And doesn't that just put everybody in the mood for creepy stories? So I was thinking, because it's been a few days since I made a video. And guys, it's nothing personal. It's like I'm finally taking this much needed rest that I've not allowed myself to take literally for years. And a lot of you are like, wow, you make a video every day. How hard can that be? Trust me. We won't even get into it. But my buddy, Travis Stagel over at Fighting Past 40 has kind of helped convince me it is time to take more time for myself. Been doing it, feeling great. But I wanted to tell a spooky story because of the fact that it is starting. I mean, fall is like 20 days away, 19 days away. October's next. You know what that means? Halloween and those beautiful October nights. And I'm going to be out here every night that month. So another thing I'm doing here in September by only doing a couple or 3 videos a week is I'm resting up because in October, I'm going to be out here reading every single story from October Nights Part 2, 31 more tales for the Halloween season on this channel. The book is available in print or Kindle at Amazon, or you can get an autographed print copy from our Etsy store. The link is in the description box below. And for those of you who can't afford the books or that just don't want to buy one, I will be reading those stories again. So the story I thought I'd tell was a story that I actually put as kind of like a postscript in my novel that I wrote like 11 or 12 years ago, From the Graves of Babes. It's kind of like the story behind the story of how I came up with the ending for that story because I was kind of stuck. And so I went and actually spent a night at these real unmarked graves that are over a century old, deep in the heart of Appalachistan, up in the mountains. And some really spooky things happen. And I've told that story on this channel before. I actually read it before, but it's been a couple of years. And I know we've got a lot of subscribers here at the channel that we didn't have a couple of years ago. And I thought, man, I'll just go read that. That'll take up 10 or 15 minutes, spooky story time. And so I opened the back of the book and I left it out. This was the 10-year anniversary edition. I left that part out. It's all right, as I did the whole freaking book description on the back cover. I need to fix this. I need to, you know what? Now that I'm taking a few days a week off from YouTube, I can go back and fix this. I will get this fixed. But in the meantime, this is where I'm actually autographing these books. When people buy them on our Etsy store and we ship them out, I autograph the back with a silver Sharpie. It's really cool. So get one. So fortunately, we have a really creepy story. It's creepy. And I wish I'd have read this years ago because I think I made the mistake that the sender of this story made a few times. But I'll be getting to that email, trust me. And if we have enough time, I'll tell you the story behind the story of that one. I can trust me, it's a night I'll never forget. And we're probably going to have time. So I'm going to go ahead and read you a story that was sent to us by somebody who wishes to remain anonymous. She's going by the nom de plume M. And if you have a creepy story, anything associated with the paranormal, the supernatural, cryptozoology, UFOs, aliens, space invaders, thought I heard footsteps, you can send them into the channel. It's crazylake@mail.com is the email address. Just let us know if you want us to use your name or if you would prefer to stay anonymous. And a lot of folks have asked, what do I mean about the veil getting thin? I guess a lot of folks aren't really paranormal fans, supernatural fans, or Halloween fans. They just like to come here because it is a hodgepodge. I mean, this is kind of like the old, a lot of the older folks have said, was it the old shows that used to come on in the 50s, like you never knew what you're going to get. Sometimes they were funny, sometimes they were scary, sometimes they were sad. somebody, baby boomer out there, tell me the word I'm looking for. A variety show, something to that effect. But the veil is basically the separation between the world of the living, the land of the living, and the land of the dead, or the world of the dead. And there's a school of thought out there that believes entities can come back and forth. They believe that some of us can see or hear or feel or... has a car way off in the distance. I thought it was like a Bigfoot Sasquatch growl. Okay, some people have the ability to sense these things, others don't. A lot of folks think that's attributed to maybe trauma. A lot of folks think maybe it's attributed to being empathic. I think both. But that's what the veil is. And when we talk about the veil getting thin, that means that separation between the two worlds is doing just that. It's getting thin, which allows those entities from the other side to come through to ours. The theory proclaims that veil becomes thinnest, almost translucent or transparent on Halloween night, All Hallows Eve. There are places where it's thinner than usual at elevation, where field meets forest. That's why I like to set up and tell these stories just inside the wood line. I've got a meadow over there, forest back here, and we're up at elevation. And anytime there's moisture in the air, rain, that's why a lot of strange phenomenon, a lot of people disappearing is often associated with strange weather events. I mean, sometimes it's just the veil opens up and closes, and sometimes people get lost in portals. I mean, there's just too many people that go missing that are never found. So anyway, that's what that means. A lot of folks have been asking about that in the comments section, so I wanted to clear that up. But now let's get to this story that somebody sent in. This is not the email that's going to piss you off. I'm going to read that one next. Is it to string you along? Maybe. Get pissed off about that if you'd like, whatever. It's like half the people who go on social media for the sheer entertainment of it. They enjoy it. They want to have an enjoyable experience and walk away feeling better than they did before they went there. And it's like the other half go there just to fight with strangers and argue with strangers and get pissed off. Whatever, man, pays the bills. All right. So I titled this one, She Found Out the Hard Way That Demons Are Real. Please keep me anonymous. This is a true story that happened to me about 8 years ago. There is no need for any elaboration because the facts of this event need no dramatic verbiage added. My neighbor and I have become best friends over the past 20 years. She told me one day that strange things had been occurring in her home that she could not explain and was starting to frighten her, which is not something easily done. I just inhaled a gnat. Fortunately, I didn't swallow it. For several nights in a row, she would feel something jump on her bed and walk around the mattress as she was trying to sleep. She could feel each footstep of whatever this was, but could not see anything. I advised her to set her camera on night vision and keep it on her nightstand so she could hopefully catch whatever it was on film. That's exactly what happened that very night. Like clockwork, this thing jumped on her bed that night. She grabbed the camera, jumped out of bed, and started clicking away. The next morning, she texted me the image she was able to capture of a creature that was downright terrifying. This thing was translucent, but you could see so much detail. In one frame, you could see that the creature had moved from one side of her bed to the other as its image lingered as it moved. So I guess she's talking about how, you can see things moving and with slower shutter speed, which would be the case with a night picture. Whew. Kevin, this creature had to be a demon. It had the face of a goat, complete with horns. Its shoulders, chest, and front legs were excessively muscular, and it appeared to have armor that looked like an armadillo. It walked on 4 legs, and judging by the scale of her bed, it was the size of a mastiff. Well, me being idiotic, I thought I could help my friend get this thing to leave her home. That night, I took my Bible over to her house and shut myself in her bedroom and read aloud Psalm 91. I didn't do any preparations, like fasting, praying, or even talking to a pastor. I just went straight in with no protection. After I'd finished, I was walking back home across the street and I felt something behind me breathing hot breath on the back of my neck. I turned around and nothing was there, but I felt its presence. I could feel that it was quite larger than how it presented itself in her room. My best guess, it was at least 8 feet tall, and this time it was walking on 2 feet. I honestly don't know how I came to this conclusion. I just knew. I commanded that it not follow me onto my property, that it had no permission or authority to do so. I continued walking to my home, trying desperately to not appear frightened because I was absolutely terrified. What the hell did I just do, and why? Everything was quiet for a few days until one night I was lying in bed. My headboard was in front of my window that faces the street. I was almost asleep and suddenly something knocked on that window so hard I thought it was going to break. I moved the curtain so I could see outside and nothing was there. My bedroom is on the 2nd floor. A few weeks later it happened again. Not only was it banging on my bedroom window in the middle of the night, it was also banging on our front door. This lasted several months, and my only solace was it seemed unable to enter our house. I took every Bible in our home, which is many, and opened them all to Psalm 91 and placed one in every room of our home. We did a lot of praying over the months, and finally everything stopped. Peace has returned to our home, but more importantly, the lesson I learned is invaluable, and I will never forget for the rest of my life. Don't mess around with something you know nothing about, and demons are real and lurking everywhere. I still have the picture of that demon, but it's on my old laptop that I can't get to start up. Otherwise, I would have attached it to this email. Thanks for listening. This is not a story I tell often for obvious reasons. Best regard, Non de Plume, M. Hey, I don't doubt this story at all, and you don't need to send me any pictures to believe it. It's actually that email, that story, that made me think of this one, because I tell you, I think that's just one of many times I took something home with me that I shouldn't have, that had very negative consequences and negative effects for a while. But anyway, let me read you this email that's going to piss everybody off. It's funny. And I want to thank Angela Rodriguez for sending it. She has a YouTube channel. I don't know what its name is. You're going to find out why here in a minute. And then I'm going to tell you what Erie did. And if we have time, which I think we're going to have time, I can tell you the story behind the story of this one. It's creepy. I'm telling you, if you have this one on the way, and if you ordered it as recently as last night, any orders that came through today have not been sent out yet. They will go out tomorrow before I go to the UVA football game. Everything's been sent out, so it's on the way. Labor Day is on Monday, so there will be no mail, so you'll probably get them on Tuesday. Some of you might get it on Saturday, and if you can't wait till October, I don't blame you. Go ahead and read them. Just please, no spoilers in the comment section here on the channel. But this one, you want a creepy ghost tale, and the climax is on Halloween anyway. Just go ahead and check this one out. So here's the email that's going to piss a lot of people off, okay? Hi, Kevin. My name is Angela Rodriguez. I have been a fan of your channel for a long time. I don't have any creepy stories to share with you, but I wanted to give you an idea. In your last video, you mentioned a woman who tried to guilt shame you for activating the super chat feature on your YouTube channel. I don't know if you mentioned her name or not, but let's just call her Karen. Okay. Speaking of which, while you're at our Etsy store, we do have Back Off Karen bumper stickers. I don't know if it's like this where you live, but I have a lot of Karens. I mean, it's Charlottesville. There's all tons, and they like to tailgate. These are available on our Etsy store. The link is in the description box below. Oh, and Karen. Oh, wait a minute. I, too, have a YouTube channel. It's about half the size of yours, and it's in a totally different genre than yours, and I'm not going to mention it, not because I don't want you to know about it, but because I want to reassure you that this email is about you and your channel and not me and mine. Oh, and Karen. This email is about Karen as well. Okay, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you can actually link your PayPal account to your About section on your channel. Then people can make donations to you directly through PayPal, and YouTube does not get a cut. But I would advise you to consult your CPA as far as taxation goes. Kevin, I know that you and your wife are not e-beggars, and I'm not pointing this feature out to you to entice you to become an e-beggar, but I think it would be a great idea if you were to add this feature just to piss that Karen off even more who tried to guilt shame you for activating the super chat feature. Kevin, like you, I have worked in social media for years, and like you, I have seen people laugh at me like it was some kind of joke me thinking I could actually become successful doing it, to unfriending me, disliking me, and downright hating me because I finally made it happen. It was hard at first, but I finally got to the point to where I say F them all, the haters that is, and simply focus on the supporters. By the way, I have ordered your new book, October Nights, Part 2, 31 More Tales for the Halloween Season, and I can't wait to read it. Sorry if this offends you, though I know it won't, but I'm not waiting until October to read it. I'm reading it the day I get it. Best of luck and keep up the great work, Angela. Angela, thank you. I knew that PayPal thing was there. Dearly did it on her channel, Life with Dearly, a long time ago. I just never did because, as you said, I've never been an e-bagger. Listen, it took me 2 years to write this. It took me a year and a half to write this. And I mean, I'm kind of old-fashioned. I'm old school. I was brought up to believe that anything that you have, you should work for, and anything worth having is worth working for. And so I would much rather you go to our Etsy store, instead of donating me $20 through PayPal or with a super chat, go buy the book or $15 for this one or so many of the others, because I just feel better about that. But at the same time, I will never, ever, ever feel guilty or ashamed for providing for my family through legal means, through whatever ways are made available to me in the line of work that I do. And that work I am in is social media, print media. Super chats are there. I activated it. Karen got bent out of shape. So, Angela, I took your advice, and as of, I think, yesterday when the email came through, I activated that PayPal sponsorship link on our About section. I don't expect any of you to give. If you do, I will totally be grateful. But yeah, why not? I mean, if you're going to let something like that get you bent out of shape, well, let's get you a little bit more bent out of shape. Now, I'm going to tell you what Erie did. She sent me a screenshot. She says, I shouldn't have, but I thought you would like this. So there was a video, one of my old videos that if you notice, she's been going through and posting like 4 videos a day from my older stuff, some of my more popular stuff. I think that's a great idea that she had, because that is allowing me to take the time off that I need to get rested up from having spending 2 years writing this thing and then editing, and in my freaking day drinking editor down and out in the Philippines, Truman Jackson never came through for me. So I had to go with Plan B with the editing thing. I mean, it even says it here. When you open the book, look at that. Edited by Plan B. That's me. So self-written, self-published, self-edited. And I challenge you to find a single mistake or a typo. Because for 2 months, it was like blah, 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 blah. So anyway, by her scheduling all those older videos, that's allowed me to take the time off I need to get rested up for that and to prepare to come out and read these stories every night in October, which I'm really looking forward to. But she's having a lot of fun. Not only is she scheduling these older videos for you guys, a lot of you who are new to the channel, to go back and see some of the old work, she's having fun. So she sent me a screenshot. I guess there was some dude who was just blasting one of those older videos that she posted. I don't even remember which one it was, but my internet sucks out here. I'm not like entirely off the grid, but sometimes I am. Like when the power goes out, I am like all the way off the grid then. Good news is we're supposed to have high-speed internet by the end of this year, so the 1080 high-definition stuff is coming, and I was able to do that when we took our trip this summer out to the Grand Canyon and back. If you followed that trip, you saw that most of those videos were done in high definition, because even in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, we had high definition, but in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, for some reason, we don't. But it's coming. So this guy was just blasting me, I guess, in the comments section. And in the past, when I was doing the troll purges, which is what they're called, you go through the comments 2 or 3 times a day, get rid of all the assholes who are like, you suck, you're stupid, I can't believe people are dumb enough to watch your videos. These types that Angela was referring to, I mean, they're jealous. Well, this guy was doing it on one video. He like 3 or 4 comments, and I guess he had a channel. So Erie went to his channel. Okay, and this guy was like, I can't believe you uploading 360. You know nothing about editing. You need to work on your editing skills, all this stuff. So this guy has a channel, and I guess he has like 7 subscribers, and he's had 500 views total. So Erie pinned one of his insults and commented back, and she was like, thank you for all of this advice you've been giving here with all of your comments. I'm happy, something to the effect of, something like, I don't know, I'm glad you've taught me all this stuff I didn't know, because had I known this before, my measly channel would probably have more than the 285,000 subscribers it has, and we'd get more than the millions of monthly views that we already get. Thanks so much for your support. But see, she was being facetious, because dude has like 7 subscribers and he's had 500 views, and he's telling the dude that's got 285,000 subscribers and gets millions of views a month that he doesn't know shit about YouTube and all these things. That's the kind of stuff I would never do, because I just don't have time for that, and I don't care, especially what people who are not successful think about what people who are successful do or anything, because we know where it comes from, right? It's sour grapes. But that looked like it was fun. Not that I'm going to start doing it. I mean, I got her to administrate this channel because I don't even want to deal with any of that crap anymore. I'm enjoying my days off. I thought that was funny. So, because of that support, and because of the email from Angela, yeah, we have activated the PayPal donation button. And no guilt, no shame, buy my books. And, oh gosh, I'll tell you what, whoever that woman was that said I should be ashamed of myself for, there it is, activating the super chat button. Hey, I wish you were driving behind me someday when I had this on my truck. All right, we got a little bit of time left, so I'm going to tell you the story behind the story. This is totally awesome. It's a story about a guy who goes through a divorce after he and his now ex-wife kind of lose a daughter. She was kidnapped, and they don't know what happened to her, never find out, and it dissolves their marriage, and he becomes a heavy drinker, and he goes back to an old cabin that he used to hunt at when he was a youth with his father, who's now dead, back in the mountains of Appalachia. And these girls just start showing up to visit him just from out of nowhere. And he thinks it's strange, as who wouldn't? You're in the middle of the woods in the middle of nowhere, and these kids start showing up. If you've noticed I'm looking over that way, I might go mobile here for just a second, because there's a single blade of grass over there that was whipping like this, and nothing else around it was moving. And there's no wind, there's not even a breeze. And you see the sun's down, and yeah, I see that back there. It's like this veil thing. Let's go walking around. I'll come back up here and pick up my mess. Remember, when you go into the forest, leave nothing but tracks, take nothing but memories. So I'm going to have to come back up here and get all my notes and my books that you should buy on Etsy. But I want to show you something. Let's keep our eyes on it. Get my 6. See, I'm right here, always right here where the field meets the forest. It's a campground up there. But this grass, there's no breeze. But this grass just seems to have a mind of its own, so let's watch it. So, see, and the vertically challenged individuals who live under bridges say that I've convinced millions of idiots to stare at trees. I just convinced a bunch of people to stare at blades of grass, brah. Okay, so he eventually finds out that these mysterious visitors, the girls visiting him, are ghosts. They are the ghosts of girls who themselves had gone missing, and their mystery was never really solved. They thought it was, but the problem and the reason they're coming to him is they're coming to him for help, because even in death, they're still being tormented by the ghost of their abductor. So he's got to figure out, he's got to solve the mystery. What really happened to these girls? Because they just wanted to close the case, and somebody went to prison who didn't do it, an innocent man. And so he had to find out who the guilty party really was, and then how to get that ghost of that guilty person to stop tormenting these girls after death. It's a great story. But when I got towards the end of it, I just didn't know how to wrap it up, And I wasn't as brave as a writer back then. Like, there's no cuss words in that. Like, I've cussed probably more in this video today than I have in the last year. Is it intentional? Not really, but a lot of times when I didn't, it was intentional that I didn't. And one of the things I'm moving away from, is just not being the me that I want to be, which is the real me. And so you're going to, a lot of people mention seeing fairies and stuff in my videos. So way down there's a house. Let's walk around a little bit, see what we can see. See the campground up here. So anyway, I was stuck. I didn't know how to end this story. And so I thought, well, why not go to this real unmarked graveyard where the story was set? These graves date back to potentially the late 1700s, early 1800s, definitely pre-Civil War days. But nobody knows the story of the graves. And I went and actually interviewed old timers in the community, people who are now dead, who were in their 90s at the time, and this is more than a decade ago. The people who knew anything about this mountain, this small community, than anybody around, even they didn't have the answers to these graves. They're very mysterious. And I knew a man who actually owned the land. The land had been in his family for more than a century. He himself has now passed on. He was in his 80s at the time. He wouldn't spend a single night up there. And he had a house up there. He had a cabin. He'd go up there all the time, but he would not spend the night up there. And when I asked him about the unmarked graves up there on the hill above that, he just didn't want to talk about them. He'd talk about a million other things. And this man stormed the beaches of Iwo Jima in Japan in World War II with the U.S. Marines. Me and Dearly went for a walk today, and I don't think I drank enough water. I just felt lightheaded all of a sudden for some reason. It's weird. I'm telling you, man, this veil is getting thin. Something. I just need to drink more water. Okay, so anyway, isn't it beautiful? There's my vast estate. There's a trail that goes down to the house way down there. I got my log splitter covered up there in the fire ring. Let's keep walking. So I decided to go camping up there that night at the actual grave site, and I did. I went up alone. I was by myself, and it was a hot summer night. So I was camping in a mosquito netting. I had my old Army mosquito netting. I didn't take a tent. It was too hot for that, and the bugs were out like crazy. So I had a fire. I ate something, canned whatever, canned cancer, all that food's cancer. It's not real food. And then as soon as it was dark, and this is the thing I love about camping, I just crawled in that mosquito netting and got on top of my sleeping bag and went to sleep. Now, this is after I doused the fire out with water because I was in the middle of the woods, didn't want to start a forest fire. You're getting a good view of the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia here as we go up the hill here. So I'm laying on that sleeping bag, hearing all the night sounds. Listen. Now, as you know, in the woods, once it's full dark, it gets even louder with the cicadas and the crickets and the locusts and everything, at least in southeast Appalachia type area. Well, all of a sudden, everything goes quiet. Everything is just deadly quiet. And something comes hurling through the woods at me, you could hear something being thrown as it's going through the leaves coming at me, and it lands right in front of my tent. And I'm like, what was that? It sounded like a rock or something. So my fire that I'd put out with water burst back into flame. And I'm like, what the hell is that? So I get out of the mosquito netting, and I go to the fire, and here comes something else again through the woods, and it lands right there. And what it was an acorn. I'm here around some oak trees. See if I can find one. Yeah, here's one. Oh, here's a few. Look. It was an acorn, and it was a green acorn. Listen, green acorns don't fall because they're not ripe. And it wasn't like just the acorn like this. It didn't look like that. It looked like this. Like it had been plucked from the tree. And it didn't fall straight down. It came from an angle like that. What a wonderful reenactment this is becoming with these acorns now. So, get my 6. So I was like, that terrified me, that scared me. I packed my stuff up as quickly as I could, and I ran off of that mountain all the way home. So there was one spot shortly past that where I was camping where it felt like my backpack got stuck on like a limb or a log hanging over the trail. and I had to actually jerk to force it away so I could keep on running. Well, I went home, and the next day I told my dad about this, and he thought I was joking. He thought it was funny, but he ended up going hiking up there a couple days later, and he said he found where I'd camped, and he said down from my camp he found what looked like where maybe some devil worshippers or some pagans or some people who Wiccans or witches, I don't know, was having like some sort of ritual or seance. They had made like a circle out of old pennies, and they'd stuck a bunch of feathers in it. And he thought it was me. He never believed anything I ever said. He always accused me of lying or doing terrible things and all this stuff. So I wasn't surprised. But I did not do that. That was not me. So I would later go up there, maybe the next day, and I found what he had found. And the creepy thing was that where that thing was, that circle made out of pennies that had feathers in it, is the exact spot where it felt like something had grabbed my backpack, and I had to pull it away. And I looked, there were no limbs, there were no trees crossing that trail. Give you a view of the place from up here. Isn't it beautiful? It's our trail, upper trail going down this way. So I had a couple of friends I told all these things about, and we ended up going up there and going, did we camp? I mean, I'm thinking back like 10 years now. We didn't stay the whole night. We just went up and stayed for a few hours, and we went to the exact same spot where all this happened. And the female, the woman, one of my buddy's wives, actually is a Wiccan, and she's peaceful and happy, and she's not mean and doesn't curse people. That's a very misunderstood group of people. And we were just trying to communicate with whatever may or may not have been there. And I remember we were sitting around the fire, and we were talking to it, asking if you're there, show yourself. And after just a couple of minutes, the acorn thing happened again. Another acorn came flying at an angle from the direction of the graves, the same direction they'd come from the first time when I was there alone. That had been plucked, still had leaves on it, did not fall straight down, and was green. And then we did this thing with the flashlights. I heard like a growl or a huff. I swallowed a gnat. So we took a flashlight, we turned it on, and we unscrewed the top just enough to where it would not make a connection, and then we laid it by the fire ring, and we said, if you're here, give us a sign. I think something thinks we just asked it. Did you hear that? So anyway, that light came on. It was really creepy. And now, I'm going to end with this. Because something else happened later after that I didn't find out about until about a year later. Those friends I went up there with, the woman and her husband, they would go up there about a month after that and kind of do the same thing. And they never told me, they never invited me. And I kind of felt, when I found out about it about a year later, I felt a little bit butthurt about it. I'm like, well, why didn't you guys take me? You know I'm into this kind of stuff. And I have fun doing that. And we had all that success that time we went up there and did that. Well, she told me, she said, we wanted to find out if, like, the place was haunted or if it's, like, you. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm haunted? And she's like, no, not necessarily. But if maybe you are like a conduit, like we were talking about at the beginning of this very long video that was not supposed to go this long. That's what happens when I don't make one for 3 days. But, and then that's when she explained to me about being an empath, which I would later find out about hardcore when I spent 6 years in the Philippines shortly after this. A lot of those stories coming in October Nights Part 2 in October. But she explained about how these things can tell when somebody is around who can actually experience them, who can see them, who can hear them, who can feel them. And she said that when her and her husband went up there without me, they had no action whatsoever. Didn't hear, didn't see anything. She knows that the stuff is there because she experienced it when she went there with me. But so again, a lot of times here on this channel, A lot of folks are like, oh, this guy's full of crap. He's just making videos for people who are gullible. He's a good actor. Of course, there are those who say I'm a terrible actor. Depends on who, whatever. No, I really think there are those of us who can see, hear, and feel things that others can't. I think a lot of folks who watch the channel regularly fall into that group as well. And that's why there are many who, like, somebody saw and heard stuff up there just as I did. And there's going to be a lot of folks who's going to say that it wasn't there. And I'm using the power of persuasion or whatever to convince you that it was. It's just not the case. So this video's gone on long enough, and I got to get a few things done before darkness falls here. So thanks for being here. I'll be back, in a few more days. Again, if you got a creepy story, if you can relate to any of the stuff we've talked about, send us your stories, crazylake@mail.com. See you for more next time.